I want to thank both of you for everything you've done and for your service to our country. And I want to get back to what you were talking about as to having to have partners and have buy-in. And I've heard the role that John Allen is going to play. And is a big part of that role in your minds working with the Sunni tribal leadership, the people they've worked with before, to try to get them to get back to a place almost that they were before, which is working together with us and in effect almost a second awakening.
Yes, that's one of the reasons John was such a attractive figure for that role. You know, Lloyd Austin, the commander of CENTCOM, has great he was in Iraq as well. He's got a relationship. He's got incredible regional relationships. Though this coalition will be beyond the region, we're looking for European partners and maybe even non-traditional partners. But that John Allen is certainly going to focus on the tribes.
And General Austin has done a tremendous job, but it doesn't hurt to have someone else in the lineup to help him with, I would think. And when we look at this, what are the kind of things that General Allen can do, in effect, to start to get the tribes to look at this differently, to say, look, our interests are more aligned with this coalition that's being put together than with this group ISIS?
Well, at the national level, I think he will, along with our diplomats, encourage the new Iraqi government to answer some of the grievances that both the Sunnis and the Kurds have had for years, actually, since 2004. And I think there's some indication that there's reason to believe that that could occur. The Sunni tribes in Al-Anbar aspire to form a national guard, have for some time. And I think that's one of the capabilities that might actually contribute significantly to that outcome. The Maliki government was actually, as you might expect them to be, very much against the idea of a national guard in Al-Anbar, believing they were already dealing with a national guard of sorts in the Peshmerga in Kurdistan. But I think this government may be more open to it, and I think that'll be one of the lines of effort.
Is this something, and this is for either of you, that we can get done in Iraq if we don't get buy-in from the Sunnis?
As I said in an earlier question, Senator, every campaign plan makes assumptions, and then if those assumptions are valid, you stay on path. If the assumption is rendered invalid, you deviate. One of the really important assumptions of this campaign is that we can, in fact, separate the moderate Sunni tribes from the ISIL ideology. If that proves untrue, we've got to go back to the drawing board.
Okay. And, you know, we had talked before about taking back Mosul and the effort to do that. And it would involve ISF, and that we're working with the best parts of ISF, or trying to. And I guess this touches back again on that same subject, which is getting the Sunnis to accept those parts of ISF. Is that part of what General Allen is going to do and what General Austin is working on?
Absolutely, yes, sir.
Okay. And this is, again, for either of you. There are reports that you mentioned financially about ISIS, you know, getting income of $3 to $5 million per day is what we've heard, that they are the best financed terrorist group. So many of them have tried to put shoelaces and chewing gum together. That's not the case here. And so what is the plan, or what are we working on to try to cut off their financing? Because the oil they're selling has to be going somewhere, and someone has to be paying them. So how are we going to do that?
Senator, I mentioned this in two previous answers here.
I apologize, I wasn't here for that.
But it's an important question, and I also noted it in my testimony that the administration has put together a focus working with our Treasury Department as the key interagency department with all other allies and partners around the world. You mentioned oil, the black marketing of oil. Has been recently a very significant resource for them. They have taken small oil fields in Syria and Iraq. That's something that we can address through what we're looking at on some of our strategic focus outside of the Treasury Department. The ransom, the terrorism, all of the ways they finance themselves. We have a task force working through the Treasury Department to focus on this. But that has to be and is a major part of our overall strategy, to cut off that funding and flow of resources.
And the last thing I'll ask is about coordination with our European allies in regards to the people with European passports who can get visa waivers and other things, the efforts that are going into that. Is that being done with all of our European allies over there, and what coordination is being?
That, too, is a major part of the coordination, not only with our allies, but it is part of the overall strategic focus of our interagency departments. And we are working on all that, and that's law enforcement, that's State Department, it's all the other agencies coming together to focus on it. We took it up, by the way, at Wales at the NATO summit 2 weeks ago when we were together, as we will continue to do. But it's a very significant part of the overall strategy.
Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.